So guys, two questions I get asked frequently are A, does it hurt the horse? And B, how do you know how much to trim off? So I'm going to put together this short video and explain these two things to you. So let's start off with, does it hurt the horse? So all of the external structures on the hoof are non-sensitive. So that means they have no sensory nerves whatsoever. It's very much like your fingernail. Now, there are different parts of the hoof, which is an anatomy lesson, but basically the different consistencies of the parts of the hoof depend on how much moisture content there are in them and what role they play, but that is another video. So, how do we know how much to trim off? Well, it's a very methodical process. So some people start with trimming the frog, some people start with trimming the sole, but these are two indicators of how to figure out how much hoof wall growth there is on there. Now, the purpose of trimming the frog is to remove those pockets down the side, because that's where bacteria can build up, and if the frog also gets too big and cumbersome, it can lose its functionality. Again, functionality of the frog is a whole other topic. Let's stick to the points here. Trimming the sole out, it allows us to get a good gauge on how much hoof wall there is and how much growth there is on the outside, but also we want to relieve any pressure, and any loose sole that we can scrape out will remove any pressure, because if that horse is walking on its sole, it will bruise and eventually cause the horse lameness. So a second ago, you saw me pull that hoof forward and let that horse stand on it and look at it from the top. One of the main reasons we trim the hoof away, it's not just for the excess growth, it is to rebalance the actual hoof. So horses are walking on uneven terrain all the time, and the hoof can quite easily grow out of balance. So what we want to do is readdress that balance and make sure there's no pressure on that limb which shouldn't be there. So this is a good way that we can help that horse out. And that's one of the ways we work out how much to trim off. So trimming the frog, it's very simple. If you make sure you keep your knife relatively upright, and unless it's really grown high, try to leave the top alone and just trim the sides. The sole, you really want to just trim out the loose sole. So when it starts looking waxy, we stop. And then once we've trimmed the frog and the sole, it gives us a good indication of how much hoof wall there is on there. And by stretching the leg forward and looking at it from the top while the horse is standing on it, we can look at the balance, we can work out how much to trim off. And then when we pull the leg forward like this, we round up all the edges and remove any divots or areas of stretching or flaring, as we would call it. And basically we just want to round those edges like the end of your finger, so they don't chip and break off or injure the horse with the sharp edges. I hope that helps.